What's up, guys? Welcome back. Today I'm bringing you another 2 weapons that you can craft. I'm gonna be telling you what are the best perks on those weapons that you could be using for both PvE and PvP. Syncopation and the likely suspect. The Syncopation is a pulse rifle. It's an actual 390 pulse rifle. It's a slow firing pulse rifle. As a primary that acts with it actually has a damage modifier of stasis and act as a primary weapon. And the likely suspect is special slot weapon with void damage. First, we're gonna go with a adaptive frame on the weapon. You can go for something else rather than adaptive frame. So I would say if you have a kind of like I mean you can try, instead of adaptive frame, you can have something like for more range or for more stability, as it's a long range kind of like you know, the intrinsic perk would be like obviously range rather than anything else. I would like I like the intrinsic as the adaptive frame because I like the overall kind of like, you know, well-rounded type of weapon. Is better than everything. You don't really need a massive range on this weapon. It's kind of like 56 range base. It's actually pretty good. So I personally go for an adaptive frame on this weapon, and then we're gonna go with the first perk of this. We are actually gonna be selecting arrowhead break. So we're gonna go with the PvE you know, side of this weapon. So we're gonna go with PvE now. So arrowhead break goes really well for this weapon. And then the second perk that we go for, I personally go for, is extend the mag, which will extend the mag to 45. It will reduce the reload speed, but that's not a big problem. 45 bullets on the mag of this weapon is actually pretty decent. And then I'm also gonna go with outlaw, which is pretty good if you have outlaw on this weapon. And then if you get one critical kill, you can actually reload this weapon super fast. And then we're gonna go with headstone as the the last perk, the last trait on this. So obviously both of them, if you can use the enhanced trait, obviously that will be absolutely amazing. But right now I don't have the materials for it, and I'm gonna be using the basic ones. So obviously if you have the you know, the traits that you can, if you have the materials, please go ahead and do it. Right, so that's the syncopation. I would say that's the syncopation that we would be using on PvE. Then we're gonna be going with the PvP version of this pulse rifle. So we're gonna go back. Also, let me show you the stats before we go. So we got the 29 impact, 46 range, 59 stability, 56 handling, and the reload speed is gonna be on 22 rounds per minute. It's gonna be 390. It's a slow firing pulse rifle, like I said before, and magazine is gonna be 45. It's quite a hefty magazine, but we have outlaw, which will make up for the reload speed as 22 only. Now, if you're looking at this weapon to be used as a PvP, so let me show you the PvP version of this weapon. So I would go for corkscrew rifling, actually, and then we would go for the ricochet rounds, which will reduce the magazine size back to 36, but it will increase our stability and reload speed. Our stability and range on the weapon. And then what we have is the third one. I would go for something like moving target. And the last one, obviously, we don't need headstone, so we would go for something like would give you range. Rangefinder will actually, when you're aiming down sights, it will increase the range of this weapon. So this would be the actual perk loadout for our weapon on the PvP option. So we will have an impact 29, range 56, stability 74, pretty good, and handling 51, reload speed 42. 390 and only 36 on the mag, which is more than enough. Obviously ricochet rounds will give you really good range, more range on rangefinder, and moving target, obviously, which will increase the movement, the speed, and the target acquisition when aiming down sights with this weapon, which you're gonna be mostly obviously you're gonna be all the time, you're gonna be aiming down sights with this weapon because it can be used on mid to long range encounters. Right, I'm gonna go with the rapid fire frame as the frame that we're gonna be using for this weapon. We can have a charge time type of like weapon. I mean, I do like the charge time rather than rapid frame, because I like the charging, you know, to have the charging time really quick on fusion rifles. We are going to go for PvE first, and then we're gonna go with PvP. So the PvE, we're gonna go with a screw rifling, which is the one we used for the pulse rifle recently. And then we can go for PvE as well with the enhanced battery, which will reduce even more the charge time. And then next it would go for I would go for either slight ways or the stats for all, which hitting 3 separate targets increases the weapon handling stability and reload and range for a moderate duration. I don't really like this one. On a fusion rifle especially, I would go for slight ways, which will basically sliding will reload your weapon. And on the next one, we are gonna go with either one for all, which is basically hitting 3 separate targets increases the damage for a moderate duration. Obviously that will pair really well with stats for all, but because I don't like that, I am going to choose something different, which is the golden tricon. Final blows with this weapon grant bonus damage. While the buff is active, grenade or melee kills of the same damage type actually greatly increase the damage and duration of those abilities, the melee on the grenade. So if you're running a void build with your warlock, with your titan, or with your hunter, you actually can take advantage of this weapon a lot with golden tricon. So this will actually be our weapon for PvE. Now I'm gonna tell you what the weapon stats are for PvP, because I actually use mostly this weapon for PvP rather than PvE. I really like it. It's a lot of fun. So we're gonna go with polygonal rifling, which will obviously give us less range, but it's gonna give us a lot of stability and handling, which is very important. Then on the next one, we are gonna go with something like I mean, you can go on this one, you can go for particle repeater, which will increase the stability and obviously reduce the magazine size. I'm not a big fan of the particle repeater. I want to go for something like accelerated coils, which will reduce the magazine, but it will speed up charge a lot faster. So we're gonna go with that first, and then with the third perk, I would choose firmly planted. Increase accuracy and handling while crouches. Obviously, if you crouch a lot, you can use firmly planted. I don't really crouch a lot, so I would rather go for perpetual motion. Gain bonus stability, handling, and reload speed while the wielder is in motion. I really move a lot rather than being crouched. So if you're a crouch type of player that likes to be crouched all the time, so just go and use this. If you are moving continuously like I usually do, just go for perpetual motion. And for the last perk, we are going to go with Adagio. After defeating a target, this weapon fires, charges, and draws more slowly and deals increased damage for a brief time. That is really, really good. You can also go for successful warm-up. Each final blow increases charge draw speed. So you can go for one or the other. You can go for the increased damage, which will reduce your charge time. It will increase your charge time. It will charge a lot slower, but it will deal extra damage. Or you can go for the final blow with the charge, and the draw speed will be a lot faster. So I personally gonna go with successful warm-up because I really like that perk. I'm a big fan of that. So that is the weapon that I'm crafting myself as a PvP. This is my weapon. This is how I like this weapon. I like to use it on PvP more than PvE content. Counterbalance if you're using PvP, PvE content. Counterbalance or major spec if you're using it for PvE. The weapon that we just spoke about, Syncopathione, you can go for full auto. You can actually go for full auto. You don't have to full auto retrofit, which is right here. And if you don't really think that full auto retrofit fits you, you can go for something like a major spec. This weapon is really good for PvE content rather than PvP. You can support me by liking, subscribing, and turning on notifications to stay up to date with everything we do on the channel. Any more reviews, and you'll be supporting my channel a lot by just liking and subscribing to this video. Also, you can catch me live on twitch.tv/Vall every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. And until next time, bye-bye.